Welcome to Emerging Franchise Brands, the podcast that introduces you to the visionary founders of America's fastest growing franchise opportunities. We'll also hear from industry pros as they share insights on what it really takes to achieve the elusive milestone of 100 plus locations. I am your host, Frank Fumey, founder of I9 Sports, and my 20-year journey from inception to acquisition has given me a unique perspective on how to succeed in franchising. Join me as we welcome today's guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. On today's show, I have the founder and CEO of Joshua Tree Experts, Josh Malik. Josh, how are you?
Frank, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, brother.
It is great to have you on the show. It's so nice to meet you. So, Josh, why don't you share with the audience here, what is Joshua Tree Experts? I think it's pretty obvious, but why don't you share with what it is?
Well, it's a popular name, Joshua Tree, so a lot of people really don't, kind of get a little confused on it, but we're in the home service space, and we are experts in tree care, lawn care, and pest control services.
How long ago did you start the company?
2005, I started out of a 3-car garage, and fortunate to damn be where I'm at, brother.
So tell me about the journey. So you start this tree service and you're doing this, and are you at that point like kind of a one-man operation? Do you hire a staff? Like, I want to get a kind of sense of like how big was big before we started franchising?
Well, I can tell you in 2005, I never thought that I would have been franchising. I was in the industry for 13 years prior. I was the dude, Frank, that went from high school right into work.
Okay.
So I had a really good work ethic. I had parents that worked real hard, so I knew what hard labor could do. And I always believe hustle beats talent every day.
Absolutely.
I still believe that. So I spent 13 years in the industry, and I was really lucky. I spent the first 8 years I was out in the field, working production. And then I started with a company. I got some sales and management experience before I started my business. When I started, I was the owner operator where I was doing the sales. I was going out. I had one employee who was still with me. My first and second employer are still with me. Nice. To this day, which is an awesome story to talk about. But just kind of like, slowly grew the company. No way did I ever even think of franchising. I never thought I'd be as big as a corporate company as I am today, offering all the different lines of services. My goal in 2005 was I was in the industry. I was like, I can grow a 7-person company. I can be the front person, like salesperson. And I knew how much money I could make.
Okay.
So to watch the evolution go from a 3-car garage to an operations center, to an admin center, to a second corporate location, and then franchising, it's been an awesome journey.
It's been an incredible ride. What's been one of the biggest things you learned early on that you attribute, your success to?
Man, it's definitely hiring really good people. I've made mistakes, man. I've hired some people that I shouldn't have, and I held on to them.
Sure.
But when you have really good people that you don't have to manage, because I think there's that term when you have to manage someone, you made the wrong hiring decision. And I've really noticed having really good people that support your vision and want to grow, just like, with the company, it makes your life a lot easier as a founder and a CEO.
I would imagine too, in your business, it's so important that your employees see you as this real person, they see you as willing to work just as hard as they are. You don't position yourself to be like too good to doing the work because you did it.
Yeah, I think that's, I think one of the benefits of being in my position was I started in this industry, the tree care industry, at the most level entry position. I was 17 years old, and, that they call that a ground specialist, where you're basically dragging brush, chipping brush, raking up after everybody that's up in the trees. And I was able to climb that career ladder, you know what I mean, going into every single opportunity and position there is to become an owner. I think that's really important. I think that resonates with a lot of, we have 70 plus people at the corporate level right now. And I can speak to everyone on, whether they're coming in their first day as a grounds person, or it's an experienced crew leader, or an arborist account manager, operations manager. I get it because I've lived it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you didn't have this arborist background. You just started out as, you're a tree guy.
It's one of the best things about this industry. So the majority of people in this industry, and when I say this industry, tree care, lawn care, pest control, you don't wake up saying, hey, I want to climb trees. I want to go out and I want to spray lawns.
Right.
Kind of fall into it. But then nature keeps you there because, your outdoor becomes your office. Yeah, you deal with some challenges in weather, but, the majority of the time being outside is just wonderful. You get a lot of client interaction. There's a lot of pride. There really is. There's a lot of pride in this work when you're, taking care of someone's landscape and it looks, much more beautiful from the time you arrive to the time you leave. So there's a lot of good feel to it. It really, really is. And I think the majority of everyone that I know in this industry has just kind of fallen into it. You know what I mean? It wasn't, we don't have many people that you don't go to school to learn how to do a lawn care application or pest control. You know what I mean? There's forestry or tree work, but they're mostly working in the forestry sector for states or, different, departments within a state.
And most people don't go to school for franchising either, which you got into. So, I was looking at the stats here. So you've got 18 franchise units open already. You have 5 company-owned locations. You went back to saying that you founded the company in 2005, yet you didn't franchise till 2021. So I'm super curious to hear about this journey of yours. So what led you to say, I want to franchise this? Because you've been around for 16 years. You could have just kept, growing your company-owned location and made a great living. But what brought you to franchising?
Well, that probably would have been the easier part, continuing to grow my own corporate-owned location. I've always believed in, growing a business. What I found over time is that it really kind of helps all your current people continue to move up. We do a lot of hiring within, so the more that we grow, the more my people can grow with me and basically look at the career ladder that's being evolved within the company and letting them continue to know there's going to be more opportunity for me. As we grow, I grow with the company. And I really do. I mean, every supervisor I have, every operations manager, the majority of my salespeople, we're all technicians that grew with the company and got into the position that we're in now. I think what we have is very unique. Our value proposition, we're really 3 franchises in one. So we offer the tree care sector, general tree care, which is pruning, removal, cable and bracing trees. We do something called plant health care, which is insect disease management on trees and shrubs that we're spraying. We do fertilizing of trees and shrubs. And really I started my business like that, Frank, in 2005. It wasn't until 2017, we added a bolt-on service of lawn care applications.
Okay.
So we developed a lawn care program. We started really interacting with I had, thousands of current clients at that time. So we were able to launch that department very well. 2020, we launched our pest control department and we opened up our second corporate location. We kind of did that as a franchise model because I knew that's where we were going. So we put a plan together to open up this second corporate location. What's it like? At that time, I was a 50-some person company, but we never opened up a second location. So we opened it outside of our operating unit and said, hey, what's it going to be like to get in, penetrate the market, develop new equipment and vehicles down in that area, get an operations center and get new clients and get new market share? How are we going to do that? So we learned a lot by doing that. That was kind of like my franchise prototype. It was, going back a little bit, 2019 is when the whole franchise kind of idea came to my mind, where it's like, I think with what we're doing, we have hell of a processes and systems. And I mean that we are very, very documented on this is the way that you run this business. This is how you do this process and procedure. And we just had to put it all on paper and really organize it. So we started doing that, knowing in the intentions that, hey, in 2021, we wanted to launch a franchise system. And that came because, I want to make more money like everyone else.
Sure.
I want really good partnerships to be able to do that. And having level-minded, growth-oriented people that can come in and really see the scalability of this business and really join forces with us, I think is what really gets us going.
Josh, okay, I got to ask you this. First of all, I love the logo. I think it's great. But I've got to know, how in the world did you get Joshua Tree Experts trademark approved?
I don't know.
You don't know? Like, that's it.
I can tell you this. I had a backup plan that we were going to maybe have to rebrand.
Oh,
I really did.
wow.
I was actually talking to different companies on, hey, what type of unique name that we could come up with.
Okay.
And we had a bunch. We
Right.
did. We had backup plans and different ones. And we actually even submitted some as a trademark just so that if we had a rebrand, but Frank, rebranding, we
Oh,
have probably 40 some vehicles, letterheads,
brutal.
brutal, right? Time consuming and a big cost of money. So got with my attorney, said, hey, we want to see if we can get this trademark through. And I really honestly, my thought was, we are not going to be able to do this.
What did the attorney say when you went to go file it? Did
He
they?
said, you're
Yeah,
probably not going to
this
be
is
able to
probably
do
not
this.
going to
That's
happen.
why we had all these backup plans. I was investing even more money in case it failed. So we submitted it,
Okay.
and it was probably about a 4-month waiting
Sure.
period.
Yep.
We got our 30-day probation period. And I was just like, holy smokes, I couldn't believe it. And 30 days went through, and before you know, we just started trademarking other names within the business too.
Wow. Okay. Just for historical purposes, you may look back on this years from now. What was one or two of your favorite backup names if this Joshua Tree Experts name didn't work out? Can you share with us?
TLP was one of them. So it
Okay.
would have been, and just JT, JT
Okay.
Tree, JT Tree Experts was the other one. So it wasn't this elaborate. As I was talking to these other companies, because I did engage with this name branding company,
Uh-huh.
they wanted $20,000 to say, hey, we want to start engaging on a name rebrand. And I had them pivot as a backup saying, hey, let's hold here because I want to see until they say, hey, it's going to fail. I didn't want to throw
Of
$20,000 of cash.
course.
So I got together with a consulting group that I utilized when I launched, and Joshua Tree Experience was one of them.
Okay.
Got a bunch of different names that we were going to put out there. And we just said, hey, what's something simple that if we needed to go, and we actually put those through
Mhm.
for the trademark, we just never accepted them then because this one took.
Yeah. Well, heck, nowadays we could just go to ChatGPT and have it give us as
You can,
many
right?
options as we want. We don't even need to pay that
Yeah.
$20,000.
I love ChatGPT.
I do too. Okay, so you franchise in 2021. One of the most common questions I get from emerging founders is they have this big fear they're going to get into franchising. Where am I going to find my first franchisees? Where did your first, half dozen franchisees come from?
So our first two were organically. We did get them through the very first person that signed with us up in New York. He had found us organically. He has a great story. He's a former investment banker,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a really hard time getting a tree service coming to his house. He called 7 different services, 2 showed up, 1 gave him a proposal, they scheduled the work, the guy never even showed up to do the work. So he knew at that point, he was thinking about different businesses. He said, hey, I would love to be able to penetrate this market.
Mm-hmm.
So he came to us, we came to an agreement, we were able to launch him. Our second one was with my director of franchise, my manager, my sales guy. This was an individual, as a father and son out in Pittsburgh. They were in the National Guard together. So they spent a year together in Iraq. The gentleman, it's my nephew, Dylan. He was working for me for about 4 years. He was serving the guards. He went and did this tour. He met this gentleman, Caleb Hill, out in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about the business. He said, hey, my uncle's looking to franchise the business. They got back, we got approved, we connected with them, and it all came together. It was pretty
Wow.
cool.
Yeah, that is cool. And that's how most early franchisees are found organically. Their clients, their family, their friends. What about the few after that?
Through consulting groups, we joined a couple different consulting groups that we got up with, and we had some really good consultants that we were able to believe in the brand, believe in what we can do and grow. And they brought us some really great candidates that are proven to be, they're just great partnerships. They really are. So we're really lucky in that state.
Excellent. Yeah, you sure are. When you were starting out, Josh, did you guys bootstrap this franchise opportunity yourself, the whole initiative, or did you bring in partners? Like, what's kind of how did this whole thing originate?
So I did get with an advisory group that works in the franchise space. It's called SMB Advisors.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some research. I was lucky they're out of Philadelphia. I didn't actually pick them because they were out of Philadelphia. I picked them because I think they're one of the best advisories and consulting groups to work with. I engaged with them, it was in March of 2021, and they really helped me adopt an operations manual, really bring all the pieces that we were working on since 2019 together and put them in one place as our operations manual, really lock in our FDD. They introduced me to an amazing attorney at Internicola. Charles Internicola and his team are just fabulous to work with. And I still work with all those people yet to this day. And I think it was a good investment. Everything costs money in any industry, but franchising, as you know, it's a lot of money. It really is, man. It's like every time you look around, man, you're putting more money out. So you got to make really good, educated decisions. And that was it was a really good decision I made to work with them. I think they all came in with either they were a franchisor at one time, they were a franchisee, or they worked for a franchisor or franchisee. So their experience was just really on getting brands up and approved and launched. So I was really happy with it.
And Josh, one of the things you did that was really, really smart that I really want to make sure the audience hears is that you already had your company-owned locations doing really well. So you were cash flowing. It's not like you had just had this idea, I'm going to open up this Joshua Tree expert franchise because the name sounds cool and I'm going to franchise and try to keep the lights on by selling franchises. That's not where you were as a business. You had, by the time you franchised, I think I heard you say you had like 50 employees already?
Yeah. I think at the time we franchised, we had about probably 55 or so. I think that's important. I appreciate you bringing that up because I think as a failing business and you think, hey, I'm going to support it and recover by franchising, man, it is not the right mindset. It really is a costly, it's a pay to play.
Yeah.
It just to do a lot of what we're talking about, the operations manual, the FDD, the ongoing broker fees, if you're working with an FSO, the conferences that you're attending, your marketing. What I really like about franchising is I'm learning a whole new business. What I learned early on is that selling franchises is nothing like selling home services. Your client perception, your target market, everything is totally different. But there's similarities that, you need to create a marketing plan and strategic marketing. You have to create a budget. You really have to identify where do you want to go. Hey, country's huge, but where do you want to go? What are the top states and top markets that you want to be in? And you got to build a team that has experience on doing this. And that was, something early on. It's like, I didn't do that. And I learned from that. I really did. I learned from that. Failures, I'll give you one of my biggest failures.
Please.
I jumped in with a lot of these broker groups, which it's expensive to do that. And I shouldn't have. Not as an emerging brand, because some of the broker groups and the consultants, they're like, dude, until you have 10 locations, I'm not even going to pitch you. Right. I don't care what you have until I know that you're successful. I'm not even going to pitch you. And I probably should have held off on doing that, because there's some groups that are just like, man, you're emerging. I really don't want to bring anyone to you yet. And there's very, very few. And then when I say few, not even the broker itself, but the consultant within the broker that says, I believe in you. I think I can help you make a deal.
Yeah, there's many reasons why I love doing this podcast, but I in particular, talking about the failures and the challenges and issues, because it's real. And, unlike what we see on social media when everything looks perfect, talking from, founder to founder, this is not a perfect business and we are going to fail. And I think what makes people like us different, Josh, is being a risk taker, knowing that I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to have failures, or we can call them learnings, right? Whatever you want to call it. But the only way you're going to have a lot of wins is by having some losses along the way. Nobody's going to make a few decisions and win every time. You have to be willing to fail.
Yeah. I think when you look at some of the most successful people, it's, if you're not failing, you're not learning. You've owned a business. You're working, you're making a lot of decisions during the day.
Right.
You just don't, they're not all going to be right. But the important thing is that you decide. And if you do make the wrong decision, you learn from it. But I think failures, that's what makes the taste of success so much better. Because I can tell you what I'm doing right now. It is not easy. It's just not. I'm lucky to have an amazing team behind me, have amazing partners that have joined our brand. But it's tough, man, because you're dealing with people's livelihoods. They are investing their life into you and
Yes.
your brand, and they want the success, even more than you do, obviously. But I know the success of my franchisees is what's going to make us successful overall. But the challenges that you're overcoming, they're way different. The mindset is like, hey, they're kind of like your client, even though they're your partner, because they're coming for you for coaching and mentorism. And like, I got problems, how you going to solve them?
True.
And that's just true. That's just how it is. And you learn, let's improve and adapt. It's one of our core values. And as we grow, we have to do things differently. We have to learn from our mistakes. We have to, change up processes internally, how we speak and present to people. It's way, way different. Their clients are now our clients as a full brand. We have to know, like, hey, what are the best decisions that we're making at the corporate level that are going to be system wide? We can't just think, hey, we're at these 2 locations. Well, no, we're at like 8 locations now. What we're doing here is going to make a difference throughout the whole system. We get to 20 locations. Well, we need to start thinking differently, and getting your team on page with that and all of us thinking is totally different.
You could have taken the easy road. You could have just kept growing your company on location, and you were making money. And you said earlier, well, doesn't everybody want to make more money? But I think what I'm really gathering, obviously, Josh, you're more than that. You're more than just trying to make money. You are impacting people's lives, and that's got to be a huge part of the franchise, to be responsibly franchising. But it's exciting. But I think the challenge, as I think what you alluded to, is that you have these people's lives now that you feel ultimately responsible for. Even though people are responsible as franchise owners, they're independently owned and operated, but you do feel that sense of responsibility to having them succeed, don't you?
I do, 100%. I got to think it's like, we're not a small investment model. We're not. We're just below 600,000 to get into this system. And a lot of that has to do with, we're very heavy on equipment and vehicles that, to launch a franchise system. So you do have instant assets in the business. But when you're talking that type of money, and it's not, I don't look at it like, hey, man, you're not rolling the dice. We know how to operate in this space.
Yeah.
We have great people I've been in the industry for, what is it, 32 years this year, or 33 years. And it's like, I know what works and know what don't work. You're having those deep conversations with people where it's like, they kind of want to veer off the system a little bit. And those are challenges that we face every day, where someone's trying to do something different. It's like, hey, I respect that, but it's not going to work. We've tried it. We've tried it, and it can be a very disaster road that you're trying to go down here. It's like, this is what works. Be patient too. We're not a get quick rich business. We're not. People that are thinking, hey man, I'm gonna be well off in year 1. It's like, it's not how this system works. Give it year 2, you give it year 3, and you're gonna start seeing some excellent returns on it. And then give it year 10, you are going to see, whether you have an exit strategy or not, you're going to see the benefits of what this business can do for you. But it is, man, it's like getting someone up and launched. It's like, you got to have that empathy of, what are they feeling? A lot of anxiety, a lot of fear comes in, and a lot of wins too, though. There's a lot of wins that we always got to remember. It's like, hey man, I know times are hard, but look at the wins.
Yeah.
We're up. You had a, first, production week where everything went well. It's like, these are great things. These are really wins. We got to remember that too.
Did you find it surprising that when you got into franchising and started, awarding franchise owners locations, that you found yourself doing more coaching, counseling than you anticipated?
I listen really well to people. And I think that was kind of like a lot of the messaging that people were giving me.
Right.
So I kind of had an idea, probably not to the level of where it's at,
Right.
but I like that. I do. I really like mentoring. I like consulting with people. I do love coaching. I've looked at growing my corporate business where, at one point you're making so many decisions, but then you get to a point in the business where it's like, I need to formulate a leadership team. We need to adopt an operating system that we can follow consistently, how we're going to communicate with such a large company. Listen, our business is complex, Frank. It is. You think about it, we have 3 different businesses in one. It's great in the fact that you have this huge, client pool of clients that you can cross-sell all these different services to. But it's like, you got clients, you got equipment, you got vendors, you got product, you got warehouse. You know what I mean? It's like, there's a lot to it. And what's really good about that, it's not made for everybody. So it's not an overly saturated business when you're doing this. And when you have the right people that have the right mindset, you can blow it up.
Right.
You really
And your business is not a low investment by any means. Who is your ideal franchise owner?
I'll tell you what, someone who has money, because that's really important, because we've met a lot of people that I want to partner with, but they don't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that we have some really great people that we had to deny because they wouldn't have been able to get a loan and up and launch. I can tell you mostly what we see coming into our system
Please.
is the 40 to 50-year-old corporate working person. I love the owner operator model. I absolutely do. We have two franchisees that are in our executive model right now that want to transition after 2 years into owner operator. But those folks that can get right into the business and learn the business, if someone came to me, Frank, and said, "Hey, man, I want to go climb trees," I'm going to say, go get a job, because we don't want our owners out there working in the field doing that type of labor work. Hey, you want to learn how to sell the work? We can teach you that. We absolutely can. But we really want more of this back end manager, office general manager type mindset, and someone that wants to scale the business. If someone comes to me and says, "Hey, man, I have a great operating territory. I want to get to $1 million and freeze," I'm going to say that's not the right person for us.
Mm-hmm.
My vision, my long-term vision is that we deliver 1 million services. That's a lot. But my partnerships with franchisees, that includes them having to continue to ramp up, scale the business, get on the additional services that we offer to be able to fulfill that vision. So, if we can get that right mindset person, knowing that this is a longer traction, keep going, kill it after 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to reap the benefits and understand that, that's who our people are.
Okay. Can you clarify for the audience the difference between the executive operator model versus the owner operated model?
So your executive model is that 15 to 20 hours a week. It's really coaching and mentoring your team. You're given the support that they need, as in, you're dropping the marketing. You're going to make sure that their tools are replenished when they need that. You're doing all the back end support, as maybe you're going to be doing all the AR, all the AP. You're meeting with the team maybe once a week for a breakfast or something, talk about what's working, what's not working. The owner operator role is, hey, you're there every day. You're acting as the general manager. You are seeking out, all the new hires. You're doing all the interviews with them. You are working specifically in and on the business to launch, and then transitioning to really working on the business. When you get to maybe a 2-3 person crew,
Mm-hmm.
you're adding on the additional services, and you can scale from there. That owner operator, probably more of that 50-hour a week type, 40, 50-hour a week type person. Executive saying, "Hey, I'm going to take the profits from this business, and I'm going to put either a general manager in place, or I'm going to hire an account arborist manager that's going to sell and can also be more of our operations manager at the same time."
What about from a staffing perspective? Am I launching all three businesses at once, or is there some sort of stage that I'm
It's a
launching?
scale.
Okay.
Yep. So that's part of our scalable model, where in year one, when you come in, it's a general tree care plan, healthcare services.
Mm-hmm.
Our equipment package is designed specifically for that. I don't want to teach two businesses in 1 year. And I
Let
can give
alone
you an
three.
idea. And even with like lawn care at our corporate location, we're a seasonality business.
Sure.
We're up in the Northeast. Lawn care isn't, 12 months out of the year. It's more like a 9.5, 10-month service that we do. But when you launch, you have to be specific on when you launch, because 65% of our sales happen in March, April, and May. We're subscription based, so we sell by the program. Most lawn care people are calling when weeds are starting to pop. That's what kind of triggers them to call a lawn care service to come out and perform the application. But all lawn care companies, they sell by the program. After May is over, we start cross-selling, telemarketing different people, taking current clients and offering them and upselling them on different services. But your lawn care sales really drop off. So as we're launching, for instance, in the next couple of weeks here, we have some launches coming up. We miss out on the lawn care part of it. So we know it'd be on the tail end of the marketing. We want to ramp them up to say, hey, be ready to go, spring of 2025, marketing can drop and you can launch successfully.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also adding more equipment. You're also adding another person at that time. You also definitely need some warehouse space on where you're actually going to put your products coming in. So that's all part of the scalability, is where it's like, hey, Our model is general tree care, plant healthcare to launch. You can park at a storage open parking lot facility. All those trucks are designed to hold all your tools and products, so you don't need a warehouse. Then in year 2, approximately, we want you to get into the lawn care and the pest control.
How much of the $600,000 investment is in equipment and trucks and vehicles?
Just under 400,000 is the equipment and vehicles.
Okay. All right. Can you elaborate a little bit on training? How long is training? Do they come to you? How does that all work?
Well, we like to start our training immediately. And I say that because we've noticed, and I love our approach of what we've been doing, because we have a 1 week, full week training out at headquarters. So we want our franchisees to come out, and we want them to come out with their arborist account manager. If they're not going to be the salesperson, we want them to hire their arborist account manager to come out and actually train with our arborist on how you utilize the CRM. How do we sell to our clients? How do we speak to our clients? We want to really have them understand that. They also get to see our contact center. And I say that what's important is they get to see how our people are working on the phones. We take our franchisees' calls. So we do all client interaction.
Great.
We do clients that take payments. They're, sending lead qualifications off to their different locations. But the training is designed to say, hey, we want to give them a basic understanding of arboriculture, very heavily on the technology that we use within our system. So we utilize a CRM that integrates with our financial support system that we use. We do a lot of training on that. And a lot of it is we're going to job sites. We want you to see exactly what it looks like when a crew's on a job site. How do we interact with the client? What's the process from when we leave the operations center in the morning, how we're traveling to the job site, how we set up, how we communicate with the client, and what do we do afterwards? So we really try to roll that into a 1 week process, which we've been very effective at. Then at launch, we have a green team that we call, where we have 3 to 4 individuals, depending on where the launch is. We go to that launch and we spend 3 full days on site with their operations team, their salesperson, and the owner, and we get them up and launching. Day 1 is all training. We're going through all the tools, all the equipment, all the vehicles that they have, because it's specialized vehicles. A lot of our vehicles that we have in equipment is specialized to our actual Joshua Tree way. So we train on how you utilize that. And then day 2 and 3, we're going out to job sites and we're really doing a skills evaluation on their crew.
And so when I come to training, you said I'm bringing my arborist account manager with me.
Yes. Yep.
So with that said, how hard is it to find somebody if I was in a local area, to find somebody that would be that, that fit the bill as an arborist account manager?
Yeah, what's really good, our recruiting staff has been very effective. We use a recruiting portal that goes out to like 30 different job boards. So as we're posting different jobs, and we actually do that once someone executes a franchise agreement, marketing and recruiting is like the first thing that we're talking about. Who are we recruiting, depending on the role, owner, operator, or the executive owner that's going to be in here? What are the positions we're looking to fill? And the arborist account manager is the first one. That's going to be the front-facing salesperson. What's great about being in this industry and having a good name, and I've been around the industry so long, is that it's awesome. And this was surprising to me. So we just launched our Charlotte, North Carolina 2 weeks ago. Their arborist account manager knew of Joshua Tree Experts. They actually reached out to us, so we did some social interaction of, hey, we sold Charlotte. At the time we did the franchise agreement, we put those announcements. That individual contacted us directly and said, I'd love to have an opportunity to work with you. Guess what? That's the salesperson down there.
Wow.
So it's really awesome. And we do a lot of proactive, where we utilize a lot of the special unique powers that Indeed has, where we can reach right out to people depending on what their resume is. And we do a lot of social interaction with potential employees to bring them on board as well.
All right. Tell me about crew, hiring crew. Are there challenges with that? How many crew members am I typically hiring once they get started?
3 to launch.
Okay.
Yep. So the general tree care, best tree care is it's 3 crews. It's you have a crew leader, a climber, and a ground person. I think hiring overall in general, Frank, there's a challenge.
Sure.
Okay. And yeah, there's challenges on hiring for a tree care company. We need specialized individuals. We do. We can't ask someone that has no training in this industry to go climb a 50-foot tree next to a home and not damage or hurt themselves or other crew members, right?
Right.
So looking for experienced individuals. What we got to get owners to understand is you need to pay well. You know,
Yeah.
when you get a really good individual, they're going to make you money. They're going to be safe. Their production, they're going to make more money because they're going to get more production done for you. It's setting that mindset with owners to understand, hey, you're investing in your people. And there's a lot of owners don't look like that, Frank. They don't. They think that they can just go through people. You know what I mean? Like there's just, hey man, I can just pick someone up tomorrow and get them. It's like, it doesn't work like that. Nor do we just want owners to think like that. It's like we operate what I call a white glove service.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Our clients are the most important thing to us because we need them to continue to grow our business. So we got to give them the best experience that we can. So having those individuals that have the experience, understand our culture, have the safety culture, and are looking forward to growing, it's hard to find that, but we've pretty damn successful so far.
Wow. Yeah, Josh, you've really professionalized the tree service business like nobody else I've ever heard.
Well, it's taken 19 years to do that. Frank.
You're a 19-year overnight success, I believe is the right term, right?
Yeah, right. There you go.
All right. So this is really cool. As I'm growing my business, I've got the tree service going. I've got lawn care. When am I bringing pest control into the mix?
Same time as lawn care.
Okay.
So pest control is, it's a simpler model. So I want you to think of lawn care. It's one truck, one technician. It's a 30-day training program. Someone in the tree care industry, when we're talking about climbing trees and pruning and removing trees, you have to have that experience. What's really nice about the lawn care and the pest control, as long as someone meets our culture, they're safe, they got a good, clean background and driving record, we can train them in 30 days to be going out and producing like a 10-year veteran, because it's a rinse and repeat operation. You're doing 10 to 20 jobs a day. You're getting this route density, but honestly, it is the same exact thing where it's like you're pulling out the hose, you're spraying, you're putting that out, you're putting a yard sign, a door hanger out, you're completing everything in our CRM, you're going to the next job. Pest control is the same way. And you can do all the pest control from that second rig that you're buying in year 2. So we fold that all in together when you're launching both of those.
And your customers already have, there's some loyalty there, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
We use our clients to upsell everything. The more client penetration we can have in offering all of our services to one client reduces a lot of our marketing costs. It really gets them familiar with the brand. They got the same portal to do all their payments on. They get to talk to the same salesperson. You know what I mean? It's like, that's kind of like how we created the brand to be able to scale it. And we've proven that it's worked so well at the corporate level.
Yeah. What's been your biggest surprise since franchising this?
Probably I never really understood the leverage that I can have with my vendors. That the relationship that I've built with my vendors, I never thought it would have been that important. I didn't. They've become really good friends of mine over the last 2 years where, we go to dinners together, we go to conferences together, and the support and the way that they communicate with me and my franchisees is, I guess, in a way that I never envisioned it. Maybe I didn't put enough thought into it, but we have great vendors where it's like, we order a piece of equipment, we order it, they have it, they brand it, they wrap it for us, they ship it. They've made it so easy for us to do business with them that I don't think I ever really took that into consideration and how important our relationship would be with them.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. I don't think I ever did either starting out. You don't realize that. Well, first of all, we make a huge impact on their life as well in a positive way, right? We're bringing them business. Absolutely. And the more that you grow, the bigger part of you become of their business, which of course they have to be willing to grow and expand as well, because you can easily stretch a vendor out too thin where they can't, they can't supply you with the necessary equipment. And then you're finding yourself having to develop new relationships. So you really have to find the right vendors that understand your vision for the company, right? And projecting accurately on how much you think you're going to grow. I know that was one of the conversations I used to have early on with my vendors was I would tell them, here's what our needs are. Here's what it looks like the next 12 months, your forecast. And then we would blow it away like triple, what we thought. And in some cases it would stretch them really thin. And in some cases the relationships had to end because they couldn't keep up. And in other cases, they ended because it got too scary for the vendor, that we became too big for their business.
We've noticed that already with one of our print vendors, that they're not able to keep up with demand of what we need for our different locations. I got a really good story on what I believe a great vendor is. So our Charlotte, I told you we just launched them 2 weeks ago. We were down there telling you about the green team going down there. Their equipment was delivered. The vinyl company, they made a mistake. They put the wrong phone number on the very back of the truck, and they put the wrong DOT number. Okay. That vendor company is out of Philadelphia. They flew down the next day. We were there. We were on our job site. Our first job site we go out to. The dude pulls up, and I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, you're here to change? He goes, yeah. He goes, we understood. They flew him down. He stayed over the night prior, came out to the job site, had everything printed, took off the old phone number, took off the DOT number, put new ones on, and left.
No.
Flew him down. I mean, that is just, to me, when I seen him pull up, I was like, holy smokes. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, you guys flew down. Like, you could have just said, hey, go to a local vinyl shop and let them do it. We'll fit the bill. No, dude, they got it done. That's what I talk about, good vendor relationships.
Amen. That is fantastic. Josh, what's the vision for the company?
The million services. So I talk about, and people say to me, why a million services? I have a lot of franchisee goes like, why wouldn't you be like, you want to get to 30 locations? You want to get to 40 locations. You want to get to X number of revenue. I'm like, well, my vision for a million services is that we deliver a million services over the next 8 years. Okay. It was a 10-year BHAG. It's over 8 years, in 8 years now, but it takes everyone in the system to be able to do that. It includes the franchisees and the locations where we're at to say, hey, a million services is a huge number to have, where it's like, we are going out to clients is over 1 million times and we're delivering a service there. It's a big number, but it includes every single franchisee that's in the system. And it also includes them not to just be selling tree work, but to be selling all of the other recurring models that we have, the lawn care, the plant health care, the pest control. A lot of people like the name. You see the name Joshua Tree Experts. Hey, they think of tree care. Okay. Well, 40% of my total revenue at my corporate comes from lawn care applications. Close to 10% is coming from pest control. So 50% of our model is based on adding these bolt-on added services, and we need to get people to understand that. And they do. That's why we're partnering with them, but it's delivering those services so we can get to deliver 1 million services.
All right, Josh, I'm not going to let you off the hook on this one. I'm going to be a little difficult on you. You've been doing this business since you were 17 years old.
Yes.
Your name is in the name of your company. What is this, your legacy, or are you going to sell this thing to PE one day? What's the plan here? Because your identity is wrapped in Joshua Tree Experts.
Well, I can tell you, PE, they're nuts, those people. I get probably 3 or 4 emails a week, and they go right into my trash bin. Let me tell you that. I'm lucky. I'm a very family operated business. I have my 2 nephews are in the business. My daughter's in the business, and we're talking where they've been in the business. My 1 nephew, 4 years. My daughter just had her 5-year anniversary yesterday. My nephew, Dylan, who's my franchise sales director, he's, 7+ years now. It's a legacy. I've been in the industry a very long time. I love the green industry. I'm an arborist by heart. I've always, when I was little, I was the one that was torn out in the woods and doing, playing. I remember playing manhunt and climbing the trees so no one could see me. So I think we have a lot of good that we can do just for our industry overall. And it's building the team. Do I want to, I'll answer this. Do I want to be working as damn hard as I am today in 5-10 years? No. I do want to be able to build the team, right, to be able to have all of these things functioning properly and us operating, properly as well. But it's a legacy brand.
Cool. How big is the leadership team right now?
I have 2. I have 1 for my corporate team and I have 1 for my franchise team. And there's 6 on the franchise side, 5 on the leadership, on the corporate side.
What's the biggest hole that you need to fill now for the company from a overall organization perspective, you thinking?
I forward invested a lot. Okay. When I say that is like, we're more heavy on having people here than needing people. We can support probably with who I have right now. We figure we can support up to 18 locations. That's where we're at right now. So I don't really have any holes that we need to fill as in personnel. I see more of areas where we can improve on what we can be doing different as we move forward. But in regards to the people gap, it's, when you talked about recruiting and you said, hey, finding people, we don't seem to have that issue. Like, I have no open positions at my corporate level. We've been very successful at launching franchisees with a crew that they're going to start with. It doesn't mean the crew that they're going to be with in the next year, but they have the people in place to start. And I'm always saying focus on culture. But I have really believed in, hey, I want to forward invest in this and really have enough people to give as much support as we can to our franchisees. Because I think the support we give, I know it's over and beyond. When I talk to other franchisors, they're like, you're nuts, dude. Why you give that so much? I'm like, because I want our people to be successful. I don't want them to fail.
That.
I want to make it as easy as I can with them.
I get that from you. I know that you care so much, and I bet you deliver an incredible experience. I don't doubt that at all. Josh, if someone was interested in learning more about the franchise, how would they find out more info?
Go to treecarefranchising.com, joshuatreeexperts.com, LinkedIn page, Joshua Malik, Malik, and Dylan DeGroat, DeGroat, also on LinkedIn. He'll get right back to you, and I'll tell you, we have an amazing discovery process. We really do.
When somebody's going through that, that discovery process, and I know you're not trying to sell franchises to everybody that's walking through the door, of course, and not everyone would qualify, of course, as well. What are some of the things that you really put ownership on for that person becoming a franchisee? Like, what do you want them to research? What are some of the hard questions you give them?
More around like their demographics, what their goals are.
Okay.
I want to know what someone's exit strategy is up front. I want to make sure that the demographics within their market can support the type of business that we're launching, because it's not a practical business for this type of model to be successful everywhere. It's really not. We do really good in suburban areas. My New York franchise, he's up in a rural area, and he does great. His sales, his marketing, everything's hitting, but he does have an issue, finding good people. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, that's a real thing. And so he has a hard time finding really, really good people. And then we have these people like Charlotte, Indianapolis, Westchester, where we're dropping marketing, it's hitting, and we have tons of people that are hitting these job boards where it seems to be a little bit easier to do that. It's the building out the models. When we talk about the additional services, what does 10 years look like for you? What does it look like for you? And having multi-units. Yes, you can do good in one unit, okay? But I've taken my model. When I started the business in 2005, we've operated in 3 units, 250,000 people. It's about the Lehigh Valley area where my headquarters is, about 750,000. We reference that, and that's what we sell on. Go with 3 units. Go with 3 units. It's going to be what I feel is the most scalable business model, where you really have a lot of growth over 10 years that you can blow the hell out of it.
Nice. Good for you, Josh. Okay. Well, I always finish every podcast with what I call the tip jar, because the franchise community is just so generous with sharing information. So if I was going to franchise my company, what would be a piece of advice that you'd give me before I jump into franchising myself?
I would definitely say, try to go talk to some other franchisors and come up with your budget. Be ready to invest, because I told you, it's a play to pay game. You know that.
Right.
I don't think developing your own operations manual is a good idea. I don't think someone trying to take on creating their own FDD or hiring someone that's like, well, I've done 1 or 2. It's like, right. You need to have really good vendors, like a good attorney that can actually, create something that's going to keep you safe and protected. So I would say, if I could talk to other franchisors, I probably would have done some things a little bit more different in my path. But I think going to that consulting group, SMB, and consulting with them as an advisory board was probably one of the better things I could have done.
Awesome. Well, Josh, thank you so much. It was great advice. I appreciate it. It was nice meeting you. I wish you all the best.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. It was great meeting you too.
Thanks for being on the show. Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.